Yes, sir.
Governor, first off, I'd like to congratulate you on a couple of weeks ago systematically disassembling and dominating Gavin Newsom.
Well, you guys need, I mean, you think about, they may not run Biden. I mean, there may be a better than 50% chance he's not running. If he runs, I don't know that he'd be willing to debate. I'm certainly not going to debate me. But you need a candidate that's going to be able to take all comers. And, he was kind of their rising star that they were pointing to. Not sure anymore, but he was before then. So go ahead.
My question is, you may have heard this just in this past week, Amanda Blank, who is the CEO of a global financial company, Aviva. She proudly announced that any white male that was put forward for a management position within Aviva had to be personally approved by her, had to be funneled to her, and this was in the name of DEI. Your thoughts?
So I'm the first, Florida was the first state to eliminate DE&I from our public university system. We eliminated it. What they're doing, what DE&I it purports to be, is it's purporting to fight discrimination, but it's really discriminating. And so my view is, if you want to stop discrimination on the basis of race, then stop discriminating on the basis of race. And that includes, you don't discriminate against people because they're white or because they're Asian. You treat people with respect and judge them on their merits. But it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is like, it's the universities. You wouldn't have these Hamas stuff if you didn't have DE&I. I mean, that's fueled it. It's at universities, corporate America. And I was actually talking to some business guys, and they said, as bad as you look at the universities, they say in corporate America it's even worse with what they're doing with some of this stuff. But if you look at how it's actually practiced, DEI really is discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination. That has no place in our public institutions. It has no place in these publicly traded companies. So we have done a number of things. One, we did that in our universities, which is important. We've also done, and this is, we got litigation on it, so we're still waiting to resolve. But we said if you are an employee of a business, you have the right to opt out of DEI training. Like if they want to tell you that you should feel shame because you're white or because of this, you know what? You have a right to pass on that. And so the business can indulge, but you, I think, have a right to not do that. So that's being litigated. But I don't think anyone should have to go through it. I think it's a civil rights thing to be able to be treated with respect. You see it in the military now, where people are being promoted for reasons other than merit. That kills morale in the military. I mean, I just remember when I was in the Navy, you wouldn't even think about a promotion for anything other than rating it. I mean, that was just, the way it was. And when I was in Fallujah, that was like terrible for this country at the time. The Iraq War, we were sputtering. We were trying to do a big surge to counter Al-Qaeda in places like Fallujah and Ramadi where we were at. And yet, even in that situation, with our war sputtering, people were still signing up. It's harder to recruit people today than it was in 2006 and 2007 when you sign up for the Marines, you're going to Parris Island, then you're going to Al Anbar province right after that. People knew that, and yet they still signed up. Why are they not willing to do it as much? I think it's because the military has been infected with a political agenda. You have woke ideology. You have the social experimentation. And yes, the whole DE&I framework where you're not promoting based on merit. So as Commander-in-Chief on day one, we're ripping all of that out in the military. It's going to be mission first, merit above all else. And we're going to restore merit to this society. When you denigrate merit, that cuts against everything that America was founded on. So we have to lift people up based on merit and achievement. We can't divvy people up in groups. We can't discriminate against people. And for some reason, obviously, you don't discriminate against a racial minority, but some people, particularly on the left and in the media, they think it's fine to discriminate if you're white. No, it's wrong, period. We got to start treating people as individuals, not as members of groups. So I think DE&I is I was the first one, and as a governor, to really stand up against it. Texas has done this now in their universities. Iowa just did it in their universities. I think you may see more and more doing it. But one of the things we have to do with these universities is understand they didn't get this way just overnight, and it's not by chance. There's a lot of things that have gone into that. I just look at like a Penn or a Harvard or some of this stuff and see the rot that you see there. I mean, these big Ivy League universities, they're basically hedge funds with an indoctrination camp attached to them. They're not producing, I think, the type of citizen leaders that they were founded to do and that they did for many, many years. And I think it's because it's so much about imposing an agenda as opposed to really teaching kids to think for themselves and to be good citizens of a republic. But part of the reason it gets this way is because of the accreditation. So to get accredited, you go through these accreditation bodies. Nobody knows who the heck appointed these people. That they're self-created, basically, private groups. But the federal government approves certain accreditors. So when you do things like Florida did, the accreditors are probably going to come after us and say, wait a minute, we can't accredit you. You're not doing DEI. When I'm president, we're going to make sure that the approved accreditors are only going to accredit if you don't do DEI and if you treat people as individuals and make it a meritocracy. And you've seen the changes in the composition of the student bodies. They are absolutely doing this. And Harvard lost at the U.S. Supreme Court, but what they're going to do, they're going to try to do an end run around that and just hide. And what they would do to try to act like they weren't discriminating, if they just treated people by merit, there would be higher percentage of Asians than what they ended up doing. And so they didn't want that. And so what they would do, they created a new category of like personality, right? And they would just rate the Asians like as poor on that metric, and it just gave them an excuse to be able to limit the number of people. And so these are students that are getting discriminated against just because other people of the group that they were lumped in with happen to perform well. That is not what America is all about. So I can tell you this, as president, we are going to leave this woke agenda in the dustbin of history where it belongs.